Hey guys, I am here to wrap up the Legend of the Siren of the French Broad River, and I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say I am working with like not even half a brain cell today. It's starting to flare up, and if you follow me on my personal Twitter, then you kind of know what that's like for me, and I have been trying all morning, but my brain is shot even more so, but I'm going to try and get through this. So, I apologize for any rambles. I am reading very much from my written post that will be out at the same time as this, just because, like I said, I have like half a brain cell. So, I'm going to be looking to the side an awful lot. And again, I apologize, but it is what it is. I want this done. Otherwise, it's going to take me another 3 weeks. Anyways. Hi. The Legend of the Siren of the French Broad River is one that is both seemingly well known and very obscure for the area. It is considered a Cherokee legend, and it first came to light to us non Cherokee in around 1845. The section of the French Broad River that the Siren is located at is just east of Asheville, North Carolina, and it is said that weary male travelers have reported hearing a beautiful song and seeing a woman beckoning them from the water. If they are not careful, they fall into her arms and are pulled under the waters of the river, never to be seen again. In some tellings, the man falls victim immediately, while in others, the Siren visits him in his dreams over the course of 3 nights before luring him into the icy waters of the river. As I stated, this first came to the white man's ears and attention back in 1845 when William Gilmore Simms published the first telling of the story called "The Siren of the Silica: A Tradition of the French Broad." And according to him, this story comes from the Cherokee who lived locally. He wrote his poem retelling the legend and included it in his book Poems Descriptive, Dramatic, Legendary, and Contemplative. By the way, I'm really sorry for the shaky cam. We're trying to clean out this closet so I can turn it into a library for myself, and there's a bunch of stuff pushed up against my desk. It's also why the camera's really close, but the tripod itself is pushed up close to my desk, and every time I move, it moves. I apologize. Try and keep my arms off. Alright, Sim's version has the traveler who is not only weary from his journey, but life itself, and finds him on the edge of the river. He lays down next... My dog just walked in. He lays down next to the bank and begs for death. He then hears the siren song singing to him, and with a renewed spirit, he races to join her. Too late, he realizes he's in the river and being pulled under. And unable to escape, the traveler drowns, never to be seen again, and the death that he longed for only a short time before has finally found him. So, yeah, in this case, it's the traveler has to not only be weary, but wishes for death. The second written telling of this story comes from Charles Montgomery Skinner, and he was the first to equate this siren with the Lorelei legend in Germany and the Rhine River. So, just as a quick side note for that particular legend, in German lore, Lorelei was a beautiful maiden betrayed by her lover and accused of bewitching men and causing their deaths. She was sent to be a nun, and on the way to the nunnery, asked the 3 knights guarding her if she can stand on a tall rock to view the Rhine one last time. And she thinks she sees her lover in the river and falls to her death. Now the echoes, oh my goodness. Now the rocks still echo her name and have inspired siren tales of a beautiful woman luring men to shipwreck deaths in the river. So that's the legend. The actual reasoning behind it is a little less satisfying and fun, but the siren sound is actually a combination of the heavy currents mixed with a nearby waterfall. They make a murmuring sound. And the rock in the cliff that Lorelei fell from, called Lorelei, has a nice little rocky ledge, and boats often run into those rocks while trying to pass through in shipwreck. So that's where that legend happens to come from, and why this particular legend is known as the Lorelei. It has absolutely nothing to do with what the Cherokee would have called her. Skinner's telling is nothing more than just a 2-paragraph quick retelling of Sims' poem. There's no new information equated with this other than him just referring to it as Lorelei. My voice holds up. Since it's only 2 paragraphs, I will go ahead and read it right fast to you, whereas the other one's nice and long. Among the rocks east of Asheville, North Carolina, lives the Lorelei of the French Broad River. This stream, the silica of the Indians, contains in its upper reaches many pools where the rapid water whirls and deepens, and where the traveler likes to pause in the heat of the afternoon and drink and bathe. Here, from the time when the Cherokees occupied the country, has lived the Siren. And if one who is weary and downcast sits beside the stream or utters a wish to rest in it, he becomes conscious of a soft and exquisite music blended with a splash of the wave. Looking down in surprise, he sees, at first faintly and then with distinctness, the form of a beautiful woman with hair streaming like moss and dark eyes looking into his, luring him with a power he cannot resist. His breath grows short, his gaze is fixed. Mechanically he rises, steps to the brink, and lurches forward into the river. The arms that catch him are slimy and cold as serpents, and the face that stares into his is a grinning skull. A loud, chattering laugh rings out through the wilderness, and all is still again. Very simple, very basic. Nothing really to write home about there. Sorry, my voice is... Oh yeah, and suddenly I am very, very exhausted. But let's continue forward, and hopefully I can stay on track. I only found one personal account of anybody having an experience with the Siren outside of these 2 tellings. And it happened to take place in the summer of 2011. This person by the name of Guard was 15 at the time and had snuck out with their girlfriend to camp by the river. Guard ventured out of their tent around 3 a.m. to use the restroom and sees a man on the other side of the bank. The man is staring down at the water before walking into the river and eventually diving in, and he never resurfaces. Guard has since had a recurring dream about wading out into the water, looking down, and seeing a woman's silhouette and okay, I'm sorry. I was going good, but my brain just broke on trying to read the words I wrote. He has since had a reoccurring dream of wading into the water, looking down, and seeing a woman's silhouette, and he also has crippling, I believe it's pronounced thalassophobia, fear of deep bodies of water. They shared this account in 2019, and Guard admitted that they had stopped therapy in 2018 and were on PTSD meds, which helped keep the dreams at bay, but did not help their phobia. And the time between them sharing their story and when it happened was 8 years. So, in terms of actual content to consume that isn't just reading, I did find 2 podcasts that are interesting to give a quick listen to. One being Mountain Lore, which just maybe one of my new favorite podcasts to listen to because they go over Tales of the Appalachia, so it's like my mountainous backyard. And Steve Gilly has just an amazingly smooth voice that is wonderful to listen to. It's definitely worth the 7 minutes of your time to hear him go over this tale. And then there is the Carolina Haints podcast. They did their own episode featuring the Siren, and this one, the the total podcast is 14 minutes, or just under 14 minutes, but it goes over another myth beforehand. So it's an episode that it could be split into two if you wanted it to be, but if you've got 15 minutes, I would get the whole thing and listen because it's really fun. And then over on YouTube, there was one video that all these will be linked down to my sources, but there was one video that basically retold the lore along with Guard's experience. So I wish I could say there was more to the lore on this, but there really isn't. It's just basically a poem, a 2-paragraph retelling, and a personal account. That's it. So now that we know the lore, here are some of the quick facts. The French Broad River itself is said to be the third oldest river in the world and has been flowing for around 250 million years, so it's nice and old. It's part of the Mississippi watershed and flows through North Carolina from just north of the South Carolina border and flows into Tennessee. One of the few north flowing rivers, it flows for 218 miles between North Carolina and Tennessee. Like most rivers, it has points of rapid / rushing. I'm reading this very, I'm just reading it. I'm sorry. The fact I said / just made me giggle. Like most rivers, it has points of rapids and rushing waters and areas of calm currents. The Cherokee may or may not have called all or some of this river or the watershed. It kind of looks like agua, but with a few extra letters. But it means long man. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. The way the Cherokee name their bodies of water is they don't so much name the rivers, they name the areas around them based off of their unique features. So when I say they may or may not have called all or some of the river or the watershed long man, it's because it could have been the entire thing, but based on everything else that I've read, it would have been more of a part. And speaking of the Cherokee language and getting things translated to locate stuff, getting a direct translation of Cherokee to English is extremely hard. It's, I mentioned agua. It's definitely not as easy as Spanish to English or any other languages, non-native American languages that you might want to do a translation for. I actually went through a couple of different translators online to see if I could find out if some of the words that I have found were in fact translated correctly. I have one. I cannot pronounce this. I only know how to pronounce the silica because of hearing other people pronounce it. But there's one that may mean racing waters, which was supposedly an area near Asheville, and then silica supposedly means sparkling or whispering waters. But again, I couldn't actually verify that that's what these meant. So I don't know for certain if these translations are accurate. If you actually speak Cherokee and know, I would love to know. Also, too, if you happen to be Cherokee and know of the legend and know that it is, in fact, an old one, please let me know that, too, so I can update. But like I said, I did attempt to verify the mythology for the Cherokee, and I was not able to find a Siren-like story. The closest thing I could find in regards to the French Broad River is a large fish creature, and that is about 30 miles south of Asheville in Madison County. But there's nothing that I could see about a seeing spirit or creature or the like. And it doesn't mean that this legend isn't Cherokee and that it didn't originate with them. It just means I couldn't find anything online because there's just not a lot of information there. And I did try to find books at my local bookstore, but unfortunately, outside of their relocation history, there was not much about the Cherokee either. Some noted inconsistencies with the lore. is when it comes to the original telling and the retelling, there are some inconsistencies, not so much in the two tales themselves, because one is just a summation, but people a lot of times seem to credit either Skinner or Sims with both tellings versus, Sims having been the original and Skinner the second. And there also seems to be the occasional confusion as to when things came out and were published. Charles Skinner's book, Myths and Legends of Our Own Land, was published in 1896. So that's the one with the little 2 paragraphs. William Sims, this is where it gets a little extra confusing. The poem is originally credited with being first published in 1845, but I was not able to find where it was published at that time. I was able to find his book, The Wigwam and the Cabin, that was published in 1845 about Native American legends. It is not included in that. The first printed mention of his poem I could find was in the 1853 publication of Poems Descriptive, Dramatic, Legendary, and Contemplative. So that's not to say that the Siren of the Silico was not written or even printed before 1845. It's just, but that wasn't printed in 1845. Just that I can't confirm a publication date before 1853. So, additionally to this, Sims also wrote a longer piece in 1852, and this one was not published until 2003, so clearly well beyond his death. And this one was entitled The Mountain Tramp, Silica, A Legend of the French Broad. So I think in some cases, in the more modern post of people sharing, they might be sharing bits of this one. I don't know for certain because I could not actually locate a full copy of it. They have it at universities and things like that. I just didn't see one locally that I could get my hands on. But this poem dove deeper into the lore of Silica, transforming her from a siren into a woman in love with a man from another tribe. This tribe, I'm not going to butcher these names. This tribe is also known as the Creek, so I'm just going to refer to them as the Creek. So she fell in love with a Creek man. Sims had hoped that this 3-part poem would be printed in a roughly 250-page standalone book. He thought it was good enough to include some extra stuff into and do that. Publishers did not agree, so this work remained part of his family's estate until it was published in 2003. Most of the Creek Nation were relocated and now reside in Oklahoma. So they did originally have ties to the Asheville area as well as other tribes and the Cherokee themselves before being relocated. And a quick review of the Cherokee legends with this added information, as well as the Creek legends, did not produce a potential origin story. So to sum it all up and what I think, and try and get this done over. God, I have still yammered for so long. I wish I could say I have more that I could really tell you guys about this. I wish I could have found more evidence. I have found lots of interesting stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with this. But we have a couple of writings and one personal experience, and that's it. You may have noticed that I had mentioned that there was a 3-day myth associated with this, or a 3-day version of this myth, and I didn't really talk about it. It's because I tried looking for its origin and I could not. People keep referencing it. The best I can figure is it may somehow come from Mountain Tramp. I don't know for certain because, again, I didn't get hands put on that. But other than that, I'm not entirely certain where this 3-day version of the myth came from. So my best guess is Campfire Tales, if nothing else. along with, or in reference to what happened to Guard and their experience at the age of 15, the brain has a wonderful way of protecting us from things that it needs to protect us from. So, is it very well possible that Guard saw something maybe way worse than a man just walking out into the water and going under, like maybe killing himself? Entirely possible. And his brain, or their brain, took the information and, knowing the lore, having lived in the area, produced this memory. Entirely possible. It's also possible that the gentleman that was on the bank was actually a tankless diver, and Guard just didn't see him resurface. Entirely possible. He could have resurfaced further down the way. Guard, in their telling, said that they didn't see any bubbles or anything like that, and that they waited around. But who's to say that, maybe they thought they waited around for 5 minutes, but it was really 30 seconds before they took off scared. They were a kid. Many things can happen. Or, hey, maybe they actually did see a siren yanking a man underneath the water. They clearly have a lot going on. I'm not going to in any way judge them on their experience. Memories are fickle things. We don't have any kind of tangible proof to look over with this. We don't have any film footage or photos or anything like that. So I'm going to just take this story for what it is at face value. No different than if this was a story that was submitted on my site. So, and as a final thought about William Gilmore Simms himself, Simms was a Confederate man, and basically all that implies and entails. He wanted his works he wanted them to be known both like regionally in the South and nationally. He believed that in order to be known nationally, you had to be known, I think it was called sectionally, which, just regional. He wrote both fiction and nonfiction in his life. And without going into too much detail about his life and his writings, I basically feel like Mountain Tramp was his way of trying to produce a work that would put the Carolinas on the map, the South on the map, and himself on the map by default, and it just didn't play out that way. He, again, wrote a lot of other stuff, so he was famous in other ways, but even if his original telling was inspired by a Cherokee legend, I feel like this Mountain Tramp version is more of like the movies we see today that are inspired by true stories, and like maybe the closest thing true about him is somebody's name. But it's just the thought that I have with that. I feel like a lot of what he did would have been just as a get us on the map. That being said, at the very beginning of his Siren of the Silica original poem, he did mention that sorry that the area was known for the waters, and that this could have just been more of a warning about possibly dying from muscle cramps or spasms while hunting and hiking in the woods and being near the lake or the water. If you're very hot and, from hiking, you see this icy cold water and it can shock you and pull you under very fast. So that's basically it. I'm really sad that there's not more to this. It is what it is. If anybody happens to know of a genuine source for this beyond Simms, whether it's Cherokee or not, I would love to hear it. If anybody does speak Cherokee and can translate any of the words, so that way I either can say definitively, yes, they mean this, no, they don't. That would be wonderful. But yeah, that's it. Time to close the books on this one and move on to the next. I am going to have, once I'm feeling better, because I am very much fading fast, I will have some information regarding an upcoming project that I'm going to be working on. My brain is blanking. But I'm going to have some upcoming information about my upcoming project. That works, right? I don't know. Words are hard right now. But I'll have that. And I'm going to be getting started on the next one. I'm not entirely sure yet. I got some ideas. I want to do a little bit of pre-research before I sit down and say, this is what I want to do, because I want something a little bit more fun than this. This is fun, but I'd like something that's a little bit more interesting overall. Anyways, I have a cat who's trying to chew on my foam cat ears. Go away. That's it. You guys have a great one. I'm gonna go rest. And I will see you. Cat's telling me to shut up. I'll see you guys very soon.